Broadcasting live from our studio in Boston, Solutions Review is proud to showcase Alteryx in the Solutions Spotlight, the unique online event for industry professionals.
I'm Doug Atkinson here at Solutions Review, and welcome to this Solutions Spotlight featuring Alteryx. In the past few years, we've seen a growing demand for the next generation of data analytics, and today, we're going to take a deep dive into one of the best. Alteryx has been a leading provider of end-to-end automation of data engineering, analytics, reporting, machine learning, and data science processes, enabling enterprises to democratize data analytics. And just this year, Alteryx has released new self-service and enterprise-grade capabilities to its Alteryx Analytics Cloud Platform to help customers make faster and more intelligent decisions. As you're about to see, the enhanced platform now includes all access for Designer Cloud, offers an easy-to-use drag-and-drop modern interface accessible to employees of all skill levels. And to see how this looks in action, Alex Ganibas and Amir Khan will walk us through a solution that uses AWS and Alteryx together. Alex, Amir, thanks for being with us.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Well, it's great that you're here. This is always a pleasure on our end to be able to show a real best-of-breed solution, and I know you've got a lot to show. Before we get going, though, Alex, I'm going to start with you. You're a storyteller. I know you're going to tell the demo story a little later, but tell us a little bit about yourself before we get going.
Yeah, thank you. I am a storyteller, so I actually never thought I would be in the technology industry. I got a journalism education, but I quickly realized that the data and cloud ecosystem is very complicated and needs people like me to help boil it down and educate others on those complex topics. So I've spent the past few years in marketing for a variety of incredible cloud and data ecosystem companies. And Alteryx really stood out to me as an innovator that is making the entire analytics stack accessible. So not just one step of it, not just targeting one particular role, all of it. So that's what brought me here today because in my role here as a solutions marketing manager, I get to focus on the entire stack from start to finish and how you'd combine multiple clouds and vendors together. So I focus on particularly on how you might combine Alteryx with our technology partners like AWS.
Yeah, and I know we're going to come back to you and you're going to get into that in greater detail. Before then, though, Amir, same with you. I know you're going to walk us through a little bit of an overview, but prior to that, tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to be here, and thanks for having us. My background is traditionally sales. I was never really a deep technical person, but I had some chops. So making the transition into an engineering manager for our pre-sales teams and now leading the partner efforts that we have here at Alteryx. It's been fantastic and fun to take this new technology, all the new innovations, and start to put them in front of our partners, as well as the vendors that we leverage and interact with and integrate with to be able to highlight true end-to-end solutions that are enterprise ready. And we'll talk much more about that, but it's been a fun ride.
Well, I know we have a great turnout for this particular event. I know there's a lot of interest on our end and with our audience. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Amir. Before that, though, set everybody's expectations. Amir's going to present a little bit about Alteryx and a little bit of the background of the solution. Then he's going to hand it over to Alex, who's going to get into a bit more deeper demo and a case study, if you will. And then I'm going to come back at the end and we're going to answer any questions that you may have. I'm going to have a few myself. But if you have any questions, submit them. We'll take them here and I'll join up with these guys when they're all through with their presentation. So for now, Amir, I'm going to hand it over to you and let you take the presentation over.
Perfect. Happy to. So if you are new to Alteryx, Alteryx is an end-to-end analytics platform that's deployable pretty much anywhere. What we're going to highlight today for you is going to be a couple of key solutions or pieces of the platform that might make the most sense to use with cloud use cases, as well as integrating with large systems and hyperscalers like you may have currently in your ecosystem, such as AWS, GCP, etc. We have a fun use case to walk through as well. And we're going to highlight a couple of the analytic challenges that Alteryx really solves for our customers and our partners. So when we think about where those cloud use cases might be, everyone has a cloud migration process or a cloud transformation initiative. Everyone is thinking about how can we make this more accessible? How can we make it faster? How can we make it more useful and get the most value out of all of the data that we have, especially with the troubling headwinds that are out there in the economy currently. Really, it's all about productivity. It's all about efficiency. And that's really where Alteryx shines. And when we think about how this is currently laid out from a traditional aspect or perspective, we may be thinking, well, we don't necessarily have all of the right resources in place to be able to leverage the massive amounts of data that we have to deal with. And that's not necessarily the case. When we think about how Alteryx unlocks those potentials for all of those users that are out there that have that business knowledge, that have that domain expertise, that have the boots on the ground perspective, really unlocking the data from their perspective, in addition with the governance and overlay security that you might need to have from an IT perspective, you start to find some really impactful solutions that are somewhat low-hanging fruit. So it's not necessarily a resource challenge. It's really unlocking the full potential of the data through your people. And that's really where Alteryx does bring a lot to the table. So we're going to talk about a few things that position that, and then we'll get into that use case so that way you can see exactly what that means. But with the business users being as vital to the data process in general, we think about what does a holistic solution really solve, right? Platforms need to be able to cover the entire analytic lifecycle when we're thinking about accessing data, actually using the data, manipulating it in a format that's easier to do and less manual, which inherently brings the risks associated with that. And it's not necessarily just data for data's sake. It's the elements of the data that can be unlocked with the platform capabilities. So we're thinking about spatial, right? Geospatial information that lives within the data. Perhaps it's enriching that data in a way to really drive analytics further. Taking into account all of the different innovations with machine learning and AI that's out there, taking those business insights and really making them actionable intel that can then be used throughout the entire business. But the challenge still remains, right? There tends to be a select few who know how to do all of those things, and then a larger, wide variety of those that need that data to do things for them. So when we're thinking about this analytic divide, right, what's the solve? We have to really think about taking all of those things that those core groups know how to do and do very well, and then leverage the needs of the business in order to make sure that we bring that gap closer or merge it all together. So we're thinking along the lines of citizen development, right? Giving them the access that they might need in a secure way, so that way they can start to do more with the data that they have. And what that means and looks like from an end-to-end solution, we're thinking about all of Alteryx as a whole, right? As a platform, we have a couple of different portions that we'll highlight, but Alteryx Analytics Cloud Platform really does provide everyone throughout the organization an opportunity to be able to learn, upskill, grow in a secure, governed way, actually leverage the data, get to those insights. So when we think about the capabilities, we're just going to highlight a few key pieces of the solution here, and then we'll go through some more detail around what that really translates to. We're going to talk about Designer Cloud. Designer Cloud, again, it's going to be geared towards data engineers, data analysts to be able to collaboratively profile data, manipulate data, prepare, blend for all the different downstream analytic use cases that may be happening. And then there's an AI assisted approach, right, to give that accessibility and the confidence to be able to do more with your data. And it's all done in a very intuitive user interface with drag and drop capabilities, but it's also very low, can be pro code or low code, depending on your needs or the skill set that individual may be at. There's over 100 different data connections that you can connect to, multi-cloud deployments, hybrid deployments, as well as just the broad access to data in general. We'll also be talking about Auto Insights today. And Auto Insights is truly revolutionary when you're thinking about how it can augment your BI strategy. When we think about the current BI stack that's in existence, we're thinking about your typical top names that visualize and help tell that story with data. Now, sometimes that story leads to more questions, and sometimes there's questions that you may not know that you needed to ask of your data. And that creates somewhat of a bottleneck, right? You have to go back to an analyst. You have to say, hey, I need to solve for, tell me why this particular data point is this data point. So Auto Insights really helps uncover that data and tell a deeper story around root cause analysis. And this is all done automatically as you feed data into it. So we'll highlight a couple of the key features with this particular solution as well. And then we'll start diving deeper into some of those other concepts around how this really ties in end to end and what that impact can be for the business. Now, when we're thinking about the platform as a whole, the modeling that you're going to see today in the demo really is following along this structure line. And to tell you more about it, I'm going to hand it over to Alex Ganibas.
Yeah, thank you, Amir. So Alteryx has an incredible technology partner ecosystem. And so if we could just go back to that slide real quick, we can walk you through what that looks like. This is a really simplified diagram, but it just shows that when you combine cloud solutions, you're empowering more people to leverage cloud. So what I mean is, if you're able to empower more employees to take advantage of AWS data services, you're then expanding the use of cloud across your organization, and you're able to do more, take more advantage of your talent and your data that's available that you might not be tapping into yet, as Amir mentioned earlier. So when you combine them, you get an end-to-end cloud analytics stack that anyone in your organization can use. And so for this demo, if we look over to our next slide, I will be showing you what that looks like in action. Okay, you see some pizza slices in front of you. That's because this demo will be pizza themed. So in this use case, we are going to be analyzing performance to identify revenue drivers. So you're going to see what it looks like when a business analyst takes data that's housed in S3, and then they're going to prep and blend a data set in Designer Cloud. They're going to output that into Redshift, and then they're going to use Auto Insights to generate some actionable insights. All right, so with that, I'm now going to hop over into our demo. All right, so here we are in our browser-based cloud-native Alteryx Analytics Cloud Platform experience. You can see all of our products available here. You can also use the app switcher to navigate between our solutions. As we mentioned, the two that we'll be focused on today are Designer Cloud and Auto Insights. So let's get to the important part, which is actually accessing the data, because in the same way that you don't want your pizza employees to be hunting around for ingredients before they make the pizza, you don't want your business analysts to be running around for data before they can create their insights. So for this example, I'm the business analyst, and my hypothetical pizza chain is not doing too well, and my chief revenue officer wants a report on revenue insights. First, I need to get the data. So I'm going to create a connection, and here you can see the range of data sources that are available from Alteryx Analytics Cloud Platform. So we make it really easy to get access to the database that you need. Here you can see my existing connection to Amazon S3. Over here, I'll navigate to our data tab, and you can see the data sets that I own as the analyst and data sets that are shared with me. So these first four are the ones we'll be using for our demo today. We've got store transaction history, some order information, pricing, and pizza types. So the source is S3 for each of those. Now let's get to transforming it. All right, so I am taking us over to our Designer Cloud interface. So right off the bat, if you've never seen Alteryx before, if you've never looked at a designer workflow, if you're totally unfamiliar with the process, you're already experiencing the first benefit, which is that Alteryx is extremely visual and intuitive. So I've pre-built this workflow, and let's say you're either a C-level exec or you're a team leader and you want to see what your analyst on your team did. You can really easily look at that process from start to finish. So here you can see that they input the data from S3. We have our data sets here. And you notice that these tools are organized in a box. We call these containers. So it's a way to group tools together in your workflow. You can turn that part of your workflow on and off if you don't want to run the entire workflow at once. You can also easily label it. So we input our data. It looks like the analyst then did some investigation, preparation, any parsing that needed to be done. They blended the data sets together. They created a feature or two to optimize the data set for more downstream activities, such as building a machine learning model, or in this case, Auto Insights. We output the data to Redshift, and then it looks like they did some additional exploratory analysis on their own. So here you could see it's laid out really easily, intuitively from left to right. It features our drag and drop, no code, low code building blocks. And the best part is that there are many ways an analyst could go about putting this workflow together. And they did it very quickly. So I'm going to show you what that looks like in action. Okay, so let's build this workflow together. So I've already started the first join just to eliminate a few repetitive steps here. So now we have to look at these other two data sets. So we've got pizza pricing information. And if I'm the business analyst and maybe I don't have as much experience working with data yet, I'm still learning the process, Alteryx makes it super intuitive to go step by step. So the first step in any data process, as many of you in the audience probably know, is to understand your data set. So our interactive results grid makes that really easy. It actually shows you a preview of the data in this window as you go. It has a few features for understanding the data you're looking at. So you have our data profiling feature here. Looks like that green bar tells us that our data quality is looking pretty good, no null values there. You can also look at your metadata. So we can see here right off the bat that our data types are strings, and we can see that we're going to need to change that price from a string. So I'm going to show you how to do that actually right here in the interactive results grid. So if I click here in the grid, I have a few transformation options that pop up. I'll go ahead and change that data type. You can see the tool appeared automatically on the canvas. I'm going to add that into this step. All right, so that's just one way to change data types. Now, Designer lets you do things in many different ways. There are a lot of paths to the same outcome. So, in addition to doing things directly in our results grid, you can also choose an option here and drag and drop it into the canvas. So we've got Designer Cloud features 30 plus no code, low code building blocks for everything from cleansing to preparation to parsing to transformation. And there are multiple ways to do things in the same tool. So here I'm going to go ahead and rename these column headers because they need to be cleaned up. You'll notice as I go that these changes are appearing in real time below in our interactive results grid. And that's because in Designer Cloud, you don't need to run the workflow to preview the changes that you're making to your data. So this is really helpful for employees who, again, may not be data experts, may be working with data for the first time. They can get instant feedback on what they're doing. Okay, so we've gone ahead and changed these. We're going to join them together, and you will see yet another way to change data types. Okay, here we go. So we're going to perform that join. And you'll see down here, we've got some more options for transformation within the tool. So these tools are all really simple on the surface, but in reality, they give you a lot of choices. We could have renamed the columns in the join tool. We could change data types here, and we could choose to keep or remove columns. So in a lot of cases, people like to use as few tools as possible and do multiple things in one tool. I personally, as the business analyst, maybe it's my preference, I'm a visual person, I like to use more tools and just have at it. So I'm going to add in another select tool and use that to drop duplicate columns created by the join. So you might have noticed as I go that there's text appearing below some of these tools, and that's because you can also leave comments as you go. And it seems simple, but it's actually a really important documentation feature. If I want to make things easier for the next person, make it more visual, I can better document at each step what I did. So I'll do one last join here. And here I'd like to take an opportunity to describe how Alteryx isn't just a powerful tool for working with and transforming data, it's also a powerful education tool. What I mean by that is we've got education features built in as we go. And this is common across our products. So using the join tool as an example, you can see these diagrams that actually explain what a join does. So if it's my first time performing a join, I'm still learning what the result looks like. It's got some explanation right here. I can use my interactive results grid to check that I'm getting the results that I'm looking for. Okay, so I'm done getting the data set together. Next step is to create some features. So we're eventually going to want to create this for a revenue report because again, in this case, I am working for a hypothetical pizza chain. We feel like our revenue maybe isn't doing too well, and my chief revenue officer wants a report that describes what happened. So I'm going to add in a formula tool, and we're going to want to create a revenue column. So formula tool is great. It's versatile. And if you're a business analyst and you are used to working in something like Excel, the formula tool it translates really nicely over the formula tool if you're used to writing expressions. So we're going to quickly create that revenue column. Click on that output anchor and we can use our grid down here to see if we got what we wanted. And we did. So I just mentioned that you can do things in as few or as many tools as you would like. I'm going to show you what it looks like to add multiple formulas into a formula tool. So if you want to assign Boolean values to something like whether a pizza has pepperoni or not, you can write another simple statement and add that just in the same formula tool. So we'll say if our ingredients column contains pepperoni, then it gets a 1, and if not, 0, and if. All right. Okay, so that did what I wanted it to. But again, tying back to the fact that you get instant feedback as you go, if I had done something incorrectly, so let's say I just wrote end, it gives me an error right away and tells me the expression that was wrong. That's incredible. It really like helps, almost like holds your hand throughout the process as you're building a workflow, so you can just quickly see if you did something wrong and you can adjust as you go. So another great learning feature. All right, so I'm happy with this feature. Uh, I'm going to now output my data set because it's ready for auto insights. So I'll drag in an output tool, and here you can see my database connections come up. Super easy, right? So because my pizza chain uses AWS for its infrastructure, we had S3 to store our raw data, and then we use Redshift for our final business ready data sets. So I'm going to click on my Redshift connection. I'm going to call this Pizza Sales 2022, select my schema. And then finally, now is when you can save and run your workflow. But wait, there's more. What if I want to do some additional investigation on my own? Because I am the business expert after all, right? This is about empowering all roles to be able to collaborate. And I'm the pizza expert. I know the data best. So I might have a few questions of my own that I want to explore right here. Designer is a great tool for that. So let's say I have a question like, what were the top 5 best-selling pizza flavors from 2022? That's a good question for our summarize tool. So I can go in, I can group by pizza flavors. Oops, that's not what I intended to do, which my interactive results grid told me. Instant feedback, right? We're going to group by name and then count it. There it is. All right, so it's popped out of count. Just a couple more tools to get our top 5. You can see how easy it is to just boom, drag, drop, drag, drop. We're going to sort that, sample it because we just want our top 5. You could tell our tools are very intuitively named as well. And then we've got our top 5 pizza flavors from the past year. There we go. Okay, so barbecue chicken was our best seller, which is unsurprising to me because that is personally my favorite pizza flavor. And what is shocking here is that the Hawaiian pizza made it into the top 5 because, as many of you in the audience know, pineapple on pizza is very controversial. But I guess if you love it, you really love it, and that's how it ends up in our best sellers. Okay, so you've seen how you can arrive at a few insights just right here in Designer. But we want more. We want to go deeper. We want something that's shareable. We want beautiful visuals. And that's what Auto Insights is great for. So we're going to use that for our final report. So that takes us to the last part of our demo, which is Auto Insights. So here we are on the home page of Auto Insights. Now, Auto Insights is part of the Alteryx Analytics Cloud Platform along with Designer Cloud. And it's more than just a dashboard or reporting tool because dashboards tell you what happened. They're great for that. But they don't always tell you why. They don't help you identify the causes. And so, if my chief revenue officer is asking me, the business analyst, for information on what might be causing our decline in revenue, Auto Insights is great for that. So, here we call them missions. These are a consolidation of insights and data stories. We have a few different template options. So you can choose Kpi Deep Dive, Executive Summary, Correlation Analysis, or just make your own. I'm going to choose the Kpi Deep Dive. So here we see the data set. I have uploaded the data set in that was created using the exact same steps that we just did over here in Designer Cloud. We're going to choose revenue as our measure because that is what we're focused on. We hit create, give it a few seconds, and voila! According to this message. So, what just happened? Well, the best part about this mission is that I didn't build it. Auto Insights did it all for me. So Auto Insights uses AI and natural language processing to uncover meaningful patterns in the data set. So what it's done is it's taken the same data set that we just created in Designer Cloud, and it's read through that and identified not just what happened, but the why. So here we see a quick visual. We can tell that our revenue has nosedived, and it's already suggested a comparison period automatically to look at. So if you'd like, you can adjust your visual here. If you want to zero in on just this part of it, you could zoom in and out. You could choose the type of chart that you want to look at. So it's really customizable to the story that you want to tell. We're going to keep it to a line chart in this case. Okay, so we see what happened. Now it's time to look at why. If we scroll down, Auto Insights has given us likely causes. So it's actually identified what it thinks most likely caused the decline in revenue. And this is where Auto Insights gets really cool because I know a lot of us, we have preconceived notions or maybe a hypothesis of what we want to see in our data. Maybe we already had a feeling that the Denver store location was causing an issue, but maybe we didn't think to look into pizza sizes. And Auto Insights is actually telling us that size large pizzas is the most likely cause for the decrease in revenue. So it tells you the things to look into that you weren't already thinking of to investigate. If you want to drill down more, you can go down here and choose things to investigate further. So if you click drill down here, we can see some more information on store location insights. So if my executive wants me to pop out a more granular report that focuses specifically on store location, Auto Insights makes it easy to customize your storytelling. So we can actually add this page to our mission if we'd like, but I'm going to go back to the original page. So here it's suggested pages to include in our report. If we look at pizza flavors, we can see more things like the fact that our veggie-based pizza seem to be doing well, while everything else is contributing to a decline, and just more information on each of those categories. So it really eliminates a lot of the back and forth that you might normally get when you have to go back and ask more questions from your data team, and then the data team runs the analysis, and then you ask more questions. Instead, you can do a lot of this investigation on your own. I'll show you just another way to do that. So if we want to compare two different variables, our correlation analysis is great at potentially identifying a relationship. So if we look at average revenue per store location and we want to compare that to see if there's a correlation on average quantity per order, so how much pizza is everybody ordering? We'll create that mission, give it a few seconds, and here's our correlation analysis. Okay, so it looks like from this visual that there's somewhat of an inverse relationship between the two, which is pretty interesting. So as revenue went up, quantity went down, and as quantity went up, revenue went down. And then over here, it's suggested things to focus on. So it's telling us, look into Thai chicken pizza. What about for that flavor? What happened there? And here we've actually seen more of a positive correlation. Now, one more thing I'll point out is that if I owe this report on a recurring basis on Monday mornings and I want to avoid the Sunday scaries, Auto Insights makes it easy to send these reports over email and schedule them to send. So, what you just saw was how a business expert with maybe less technical experience, little to no coding skills, maybe he's working with data for the first time, they were able to take the raw data, quickly connect to it, and get access to it from AWS, put that into Designer Cloud, and run that from start to finish, and even do some additional exploratory investigation. Output that into Redshift, put it into Auto Insights, and then Auto Insights has given us a ton of actionable business ready insights right off the bat. Like I'm already thinking maybe I need to run a promotion for size large pizzas in the Denver store location, right? And the best part is that these are really iterative when they're used together. So if I find something in Auto Insights that makes me want to go back to my data set and make adjustments to it, you can easily just click over and do that in Designer Cloud. So that concludes my demo. You have now witnessed how someone can get from data to insights faster than the amount of time it takes to deliver a pizza. And I think we're probably all hungry for pizza now, so I will stop here and open the floor up to any questions.
I know what I'm going to be having for lunch. I do know that.
Is it Hawaiian?
No,
Is it Hawaiian
no,
pizza?
it's the barbecue. It's the barbecue. Although
Ah,
the Thai chicken sounded
thank
pretty
you.
good too. Well, that was great, and honestly, it's exactly what I was hoping we'd see because, truth be told, what we're hearing a lot, and we're obviously covering the space in multiple different category sites at Solutions Review, is we're hearing a lot about getting more tools to the team and really making this sort of thing democratized, I think is the word that people are using. Give us a little sense about the reaction you're getting here. I mean, I know it's been available for a month or so, but I mean, Amir, you're probably talking to a lot of customers at this point. What are you seeing in terms of where you're finding buy-in for that story around
Sure.
self-service?
Absolutely. So when we think about this, again, I kind of highlighted it earlier, where most everyone, right, that's out there is on or already done with or starting their transformation journey. When you're thinking about the move to the cloud, right, which elements of my business or this particular practice am I going to be actually shifting? And having the ability to move pieces at a time, I think, is within the right frames of thinking, right? When you're thinking about where do I look at this? How do I start? So that 5-year strategy is going to involve various different elements. So where we're seeing a lot of traction with Analytics Cloud currently is the early adoption, the understanding that, hey, this is actually a great way to transition some skill sets that I already have into a cloud platform that starts to make a little bit more of that immediate impact. And then leveraging that particular speed to solution to be able to drive business while you're doing it. So it's not necessarily put this particular project on hold, wait for a minute, and then kind of move back into other priorities and initiatives. So we're seeing a lot of that early adoption moving along the phases that they are. Whether they're in their first year or your fifth year, it's always going to be something that drives that value.
Yeah, so I want to follow up on that. And actually, we've got a question that kind of trails onto that, which is how do I get my employees started in terms of learning Designer? So what you just walked through, Alex, is obviously pretty powerful stuff, and once you can get it to work, it's going to start to help you with all of the AI insights that you were showing. But how does that work internally? I mean, is there some training? How does it come together for the end user?
Yeah, I can take this one. So I think Alteryx has an incredible community for starters, right? We have a ton of learning resources available because that's what we're really about is upskilling, expanding access, making concepts that previously might have been out of reach available to a broader range of roles. And so if you think about things like building a machine learning model, for example, we have Alteryx Machine Learning, which is also part of the Alteryx Analytics Cloud Platform. And that also has an education mode that walks the analysts through as they're building a model for the first time, maybe, and they can do it all without code. And so, all these concepts, though, they might be very unfamiliar. And so, we offer a lot of resources. We have certifications, we have trainings. Our customer success team is incredible at helping each customer onboard and navigate the initial process of adopting. But we also have resources for trial and trying out the products as well. So we have a starter kit specific to a lot of different use cases. We have one for AWS. And so we've just got such a great community that offers resources because upskilling is really at the forefront of what we're aiming to do.
Yeah, I actually spent quite a bit of time on the website, and I did notice there's a lot of ways to begin engaging, which is always interesting from my perspective, because ultimately we're trying to help people begin engagements and really see what these solutions can do for them. And I think ultimately that's it, right? I don't think people should think about it as entering into a sales cycle as much as it's entering into a learning process, and that early engagement is really about that. And I know you have a couple of 30-day free trials, but Amir, tell me a little bit about how somebody gets started there. I mean, who in the organization should be thinking about this sort of thing, and then
Yeah.
as they start to reach out, what should they be preparing for? I mean, should they be thinking about what data they've got, what platforms they're using, the point solutions that they might be needing to consider?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's a jungle out there, right? I think we all know there's a lot of different ways to get to the answer. So if you're thinking about where you might want to consider or who you are, right? Who you should be if you're looking at considering Alteryx. And it's really meant for everyone, right? And I know that's the easy answer, kind of cop out answer, but if you're thinking about it from an analyst perspective, right, this may unlock doors for you, right? We have use cases where we've turned analysts into heroes, right? They've solved, multi-million dollar problems and challenges in companies off of a 30-day trial. We also have IT leaders, thinking about the way in which we integrate seamlessly within their existing tech stack. So if you're thinking about technical debt that may have accumulated over the last 15 years, we're not a rip and replace kind of function here. We're essentially augmenting and making all of those investments function a lot more seamlessly together, which I think is one of the key value propositions to consider. So if you have those use cases where you're finding, well, we have a ton of data now, right? We used to have a data problem. There was not enough data. Now there's too much data. And now we're at that stage where, okay, well, maybe in the last, pre-COVID, we were thinking about outcomes. And now we're thinking about full on productivity and solutions to really scale the business or do more with less. And I think those are all those key things to think about as you're considering. And again, in our community, best in class, just ask questions, right? People will answer them typically within a couple of minutes. And you'll also find a bunch of resources that can help guide you through these white papers, various industry articles where Alteryx has made some pretty significant transformations. So all of those resources at your fingertips, as well as that thought process, I think should help you align into where you might want to be going and what you want to think about.
So I think we have a question from an existing customer, because the question is there an ability to migrate a designer on-prem license workflow into the cloud and then update connections in the cloud? And I'm going to assume you understand the entirety of that question.
Yeah. Great question. Happy to entertain it. Some of these things are roadmap questions. Our roadmap is getting fast and furiously flushed out before our Inspire event, which is our user conference that we hold every year. This year will be in Las Vegas. Tons of releases that we can expect. So the migration paths, the interoperability between desktop and cloud, all of those functions are going to be flushed out soon. We have more details that I'd love to share with you. I just don't have the authority to do so. But we'll absolutely have more details highlighting some of those compatibility things at our Inspire. We'll be highlighting some of the newest changes for that.
Understood. It makes sense, being a public traded company and so forth. So one of the questions that I often ask is really, as people are faced with this challenge, they have something, right? And the question is that good enough, or do I try to get to that next level? And what kind of advice would you provide? I mean, I'll ask either of you, given the fact that you're both talking to folks that are facing that dilemma all the time. What kind of advice would you provide to somebody who's really struggling with that path of going to a next generation and really evolving their solutions? Do you have some guidance that you can provide for them? Alex, why don't you go first if you have something?
Yeah, I mean, so if I'm understanding correctly, you're thinking about how to balance modernization with current needs.
Exactly
Right?
that.
Yeah, the classic IT dilemma, right? So, yeah, I think when it comes to cloud modernization, I think, everybody's very excited about cloud. We all know the benefits of cloud. It's scalable. But I think oftentimes it's not always cost effective. And that's because a lot of organizations don't know how to take full advantage of it. So if you're thinking about modernizing, I think you need to be thinking about the people ultimately who will be using your stack. And that's a mistake that I think we see a lot of organizations make, where they rush to modernize and adopt new technologies without considering the range of skill sets who will be using those technologies. And so that's why I like to use AWS and Alteryx Analytics Cloud as an example of bringing everybody together to collaborate in one process. And so when it comes to modernizing, I think to really see more ROI out of that is to ensure that people will actually be able to utilize it. And so, as you're thinking about that path, I would encourage you to make sure you are including all departments in your decision making. Include all of the line of business leaders, because instead of treating it as just a one and done IT deployment, you should be considering every function before you adopt this, and then it's too late. So, really thinking about the end outcome, keeping your eye on the prize, and consulting the range of people who ultimately will be using the new technology.
And Amir, what do you think? Do you have some additional perspective on that?
Yeah, and to sum it up and think about it from the lens that Alex just shared, it comes into that analytics maturity. We've done a study with IIC where we were analyzing the stages of analytic maturity that most companies fall within. It's a scale of 1 to 5. And we find that most companies fall within that 2.2 realm, right? That's the score that they give themselves based off an analytic maturity journey that they may be on. We have that maturity exam or assessment available on our website. So if you'd like to take it, you certainly can. It's free. But because of those stages, when we're thinking about that analytics maturity journey, in addition to bringing all those right line of business users, it's really about what the directives are with the data strategy, understanding what that transformation journey is really going to yield at the end of it. So having a perspective to both aspects of that, I think, is huge, right? Not only what the business wants to achieve, but also how can we leverage our resources, right? Whether they're data and assets or people. And I think combining all of those things together really drives success when we're thinking about how we land here.
Yeah, and the analytics maturity assessment tool we will be sending out in a follow-up email, but it's alteryx.com/resources/analytics-maturity if you want to get an early jump on that. And I do recommend that folks, who are starting to think about these things, really do start the process early and go through the stages that you really need to take to make the best possible decision, because these tools are incredibly powerful, and I don't think there's any question that you want to get the kind of insight that a tool can provide, not only just from presenting the information clearly, but also in this particular case, with that power of machine learning and artificial intelligence to drive suggested insights, which I think is a really nice additional benefit. Who in the organization you're really trying to focus on here? Who do you think is this the folks that are currently kind of getting hammered with all the requests about different analytics jobs that they need to be doing, or is this being driven on the business end from the kind of line of business folks?
Line of business should always be considered, but I think IT leaders, those that are in charge of data strategy, should always be considering the idea of how can I leverage integration tools, right? Or middleware, if you will, right? That sits kind of there in that one plane that can serve as the front end to all of the different investments that we've made. So I think it's a combination of both, right? So if you are an analyst being kind of stuck in that grind, yes, there's an easy solve here, right? But what's the bigger problem? Are we leveraging the full strength of the technology that we've put into our business? And that comes in from a broader strategic perspective. So I think having both layers of that involved in that particular process, whether it's the decision-making or actually doing the data work, right? Making that data and all of the investments more accessible to the users. And those users could be IT, right? It could be tax. It could be any line of business or function in a vertical. But that end goal, again, is always to understand what that bigger picture looks like and unlock the most use cases possible to drive the most efficiency, ROI, and everything else that comes with that particular solve.
Yeah, this has been great. I want to encourage everybody watching to certainly go to alteryx.com and check out everything they have to offer and all the tools that they make available for you to begin this journey toward a next generation solution. We would also encourage everybody to go to solutionsreview.com and check out all that we're covering with regard to Alteryx and the challenges that we see folks facing throughout this year and into the future as things are changing and have been changing so dramatically. And certainly self-service and these kind of no-code, low-code tools are a big part of what we're covering. But thanks very much today for this time. This has been great. Really appreciate the presentation, and best of luck for the rest of the year.
Thank you so much, Doug. This is awesome.
Thanks so much for having us.
So there you have it, another solution in our spotlight. I want to thank Alex and Amir for that fine presentation, and we certainly appreciate your participation as well. Until next time, I'm Doug Atkinson here at Solutions Review. Thanks for watching.